Welcome to Group E of our World Cup of Great Darts Performance series, and we're now focusing on the World Grand Prix. Paul Nicholson is here once again, and we're going to kick things off with when Alan Warriner Little averaged 106.45 back in 2001, and the record has never been broken since.
20 years it stood now, and I think the more this goes on, I think the more people will try and gun for it. But I think a lot has been made about this performance, the fact that it was short format. I don't think that comes into it whatsoever. I think the clinical nature of the first round of the World Grand Prix makes people on edge, but this performance was almost perfect when it comes to double start. He only missed the starting double in the first and last legs of the contest. 75% on doubles to finish as well. And the stuff in between was just unplayable. Andy Jenkins had absolutely no chance.
I think when people say, oh, but it's only over 2 sets, if you just think of all these years later, it's not as if anyone else has really come close. I think Gary Anderson got 100, both Gary Anderson and MVG have managed around 104 in 2 first round matches in years gone by. I think they were both in 2013. So it's not as if people are getting actually very close, and they've all had these 2-0 wins. So I think it does definitely stand alone as a wonderful performance.
Well, if you ask Alan Warriner Little how high it stands with him, I mean, the fact of the matter is he went on to win the tournament as well. So that actually means a lot, that performance against Andy Jenkins. It gave him the confidence to shoot forward and actually get that huge title that he really craved. I mean, I've had just under 100 average in the World Grand Prix against Robert Thornton. I value that as one of my best ever displays, because double start darts is very, very difficult. So I don't think anybody should take anything away from Alan in this performance. It was absolutely magical.
Yeah. So moving chronologically on, Phil Taylor became the first player to average over 100 in a World Grand Prix final when he beat John Part 7-3. And no one got close to that until MVG just about broke against Gary Anderson in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, averages of 3 figures back 19 years ago, they weren't that common. I mean, we get them all the time now. We get them from all sorts of different areas because people have raised their game. If you think about double start 100 averages, there's not that many to choose from, and to be able to do it in a final against someone like John Part, who was on the way up in his PDC curve, you have to say that this performance definitely belongs in the top 4 for me. I think we are at a point in Taylor's career where he was very, very dominant and very comfortable with being the number 1 player on the planet. But to still put in that kind of performance against a very, very dangerous player, I think that final performance can't be underestimated.
Yeah, I mean, John Part only dropped 2 sets in the tournament. Phil Taylor hadn't dropped any. So I think at that time, probably the 2 best double start players around. So he had to produce that kind of performance.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, because John Part, who comes from a culture in North America of very short format stuff, be it 501, 301 double start, then his culture brought him over to this tournament, which ultimately is probably the biggest tournament he never won, in my opinion, with his strengths. You could say that we're a match player, but the Grand Prix was something that he was really, really good at. Never won it, but he always played really well in it. But ultimately, not good enough against Phil in this performance.
And just one final thing about those averages, with MVG getting 100.29, his win over Gary Anderson was 5-2, 7 sets. Phil Taylor's average is marginally less, over 10 sets, because it was 7-3. So that you could give that the edge, even though MVG's average was a little bit higher.
We always look at the format, don't we? Yes, we've talked about the short format nature of Alan Warriner Little's record of 106, but to be able to do it over the course of lots and lots and lots of sets and still get a 3-figure average, that deserves a lot of gravitas, in my opinion.
So another history-making performance has to come next, and it's Brendan Dolan hitting the World Grand Prix's first ever 9-darter in that incredible win over defending champion at the time, James Wade, in the 2011 semi-finals.
You would think that Brendan Dolan hitting the 9-darter in this match, in a semi-final, warrants its place alone. Well, not really, because I think what you have to do is look at the performance as a whole. He hit the 9-darter quite early in that match, Now, you've seen the curse of the 9 darter over the last few years, where people get a 9 early, and then it makes things a bit more edgy for them later on, because they think, just because I've hit a 9, I've got every right to win this match. The focus of Dolan from start to finish through that performance, that's what warrants him in this list. Yes, he's got the perfect leg, the first we ever saw, and there would be more, of course, but if you look at the way he got himself through to the final throughout the entire match, I think that's what warrants him getting through this semi-final to his first PDC major final.
Yeah, I guess it was the pressure, the partisan crowd, the fact James Wade was the defending champion. A lot of pressure, a lot of context there to put this performance within.
Oh yeah, we talked about the context of Fallon Sherrick during the World Championship when she was playing against Mensah Suljovic, the context of the arena, and it's something we're talking a lot about at the minute with fans returning, but the fact of the matter is that was very partisan, and the pressure was firmly on Brendan when he got the lead, because people expected him to beat James after that, and he was able to shoulder that pressure, and subsequently I think he's been able to shoulder great pressure in his career, because I think he's one of the best players that we've had in the PDC in the last 15 years.
And there's only ever been 2 other 9 darters, and they both came in the same match, Thornton and Wade.
Every 9 darter has involved James Wade in the World Grand Prix.
So finally, to round things off, it's probably my personal favourite of the 4, when Robert Thornton overcame the odds and the rampant display from MVG to win that unforgettable 2015 final. It's probably arguably the biggest shock in a major final, or one of them.
Yeah, to say that about Robert Thornton, it's a bit strange, but you think about the dominant era of Van Gerwen from, say, 2013 to very recently. Around about this time, Van Gerwen just seemed to be hoovering up titles. And Robert Thornton, of course, pokes up and wins the UK Open in 2012, and then he comes and wins this one as well. But the tenacious nature, you don't get his reputation without having performances like this. And he doesn't win majors against bad players in finals. That's just his career in a nutshell. Yeah. But the way he was able to stay focused in that final is testament to him. It's also testament to his wife, Christine, who was there, and she was sitting in a very lonely spot at one point of that audience, and Robert was constantly looking at her for inspiration. Robert didn't just win that title, they both did. And I think that's what's so great about it.
Yeah. I mean, MVG averaged 96, he's hammered in 18 180s. So to defy that, and the thing is, Thornton was always trying to, apart from dropping the first set, he was always trying one set ahead. MVG kept pulling him back, and you always, I don't know, because I've always root for underdogs, you kind of thought when it gets to the decider, but MVG just nicks it, and Thornton ends up being the plucky heroic loser. But he did actually just battle down and win that last set.
Yeah, he did. I think that's what great players can do. You look at what Anderson did in that set at the World Championship where the 3 darts fell on the floor. He won that set. So I think, what does that say about Scottish dart players? But Robert, when he's up against someone who is noteworthy, he just finds that extra little bit that he needs. And I think I've got such a soft spot for Robert. I think a lot of people have, and that's why we looked at him as sort of the Leicester City of the time, going up against the Man City or the Man United or the Liverpool of darts. And you just get the feeling that one was meant for Robert, whereas Michael was meant to get others. But the performance, it was, in my opinion, a bit like a wide receiver in the NFL, just palming off that really good cornerback and just saying, no, this is my touchdown, thank you very much.
So all Sporting Life followers need to do now is vote for your favourite on the poll below, and the winner will advance to the next round. We'll be back with Group F, which will feature 4 more great displays.